Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Come run downstairs.
It's okay, but it feels good right now because your other room is hot.
Well, and you are under the power vent right there, so.
Yeah, but it's spreading out. So you
I'm
actually-
gonna use that blanket of yours. I haven't seen, I know. I think last year Nelly gave me a big poncho.
Yeah, if you need it, I'll run upstairs and.
I hear ya, cause I might.
When she's sitting, the air goes out.
Okay.
She's sitting under the middle ribs,
Okay,
All right.
bifurcated.
that's a good word. I like that word.
Yeah, Tracy was teaching one of those classes down here that day. Like, what's your favorite word?
What is there?
What's his favorite word? Lee, did you ever have their notes? Get their notes. Okay, sorry, I asked, so I will just. Remind.
I was on a onomatopoeia, just for those who.
When the word makes it sound what it is.
But my favorite word is Brobdingnagian.
Is what?
Brobdingnagian.
What is that?
Of enormous.
I'm sorry, I got headphones.
Oh, someone with Lisa and Rob knew.
Oh, I have no idea.
That word itself is a, whatever that is.
Well, remember Gulliver wound up on the islands of Lilliput, where he was the giant,
Wow.
and Brobdingnag, where he was the tiny one.
Oh, did I bring down, I thought, did I bring down the index cards? That's good. I just wanna make sure. Oh, did everybody got some? Did the front tables get some index cards?
No, I got some for me and Jen over here.
I didn't, but I was.
Perfect.
All of this.
Muriel?
Yesterday, I just
Contract?
Yeah,
What did
it was the last.
Okay, so now I'm getting the onomatopoeia.
One in my car, one in my son's.
So which ones are you? Not,
Anyway, I mean, I've got my contract, so it's not a big deal.
right down.
I just didn't know if they ought to.
This one is off on it, right?
That's, those aren't his originals that. The language has changed.
This has.
We are live.
Says it changes. It's what's in the screen, but you have. You want to.
We have copies of everyone.
Yes, you have.
It was from a lot of people.
You want to learn that. This has every single.
If I spread out a little bit, it's
Yeah,
because.
I only got through part of my favorite 18 on copies.
More than we're gonna do.
Okay.
It is a holiday. We ought to do a recognition of the first 10 people to mail their ballots back. Take a selfie, we'll put them up on our Facebook page or something.
Okay, that's.
How's that sound?
Good idea.
10 people.
First 10 people that take a selfie and submit it of voting for the perk vote will go on a rotation on the Facebook page.
Okay.
I think that's not a bad idea. Gotta get people started as soon as possible.
Check my real sheets.
Yeah, it is being broadcast. Right now, the mics are live. You can watch your line. Yeah, our timeline, yesterday was the beginning of perk voting for PCTA. The ballots were mailed yesterday,
Okay,
so they should start showing up.
Good
Okay.
news.
so you're hearing though, that, so they're supposed to start showing up today and tomorrow?
So,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
there's
mailed
only
out of-
13 and 18.
They were
yes.
mailed out of Tallahassee yesterday
Okay.
morning, so
Okay,
see how well the.
we'll see how the postal
works.
service works,
So-
right,
They'll post tomorrow,
yeah,
post tomorrow.
yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Okay,
Oh. Do we have two of these? on there?
Or is this the
I was already.
And we, and you guys already signed over? Yeah, okay.
All right, guys, the mics are live, so make sure your phones are down. Gotta pass out Faraday bags in the classrooms. Everyone put your phone in a Faraday bag.
Take that away from the hills.
Happy sweltering summer, everybody.
We got here early, so we could be all prepared, and then I'm not, so.
That's always. We're not in the spring.
But I want to recommend. Too many emergencies. All right, I'm ready. Thanks for your patience.
All right, if you're on the live stream, good morning, everybody. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to our home. At least we have room today. Last time we were here, it was a little crowded upstairs, but we don't need training on this week, so set this up well. I'm Lee Bryant, president of the PCTA, and I'd like for the county team to go ahead and introduce themselves, our team introduce ourselves, so we all kind of know who we are.
I'm Lori Yard, I'm the staff attorney.
Biggie, Chief Human Resources Officer.
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Woodford, I'm the deputy superintendent.
Good morning, Dana Collins, Executive Director, Human Resources.
Good morning, Dave Richmond, Director of Payroll.
Hi, Carly Spicer, Senior Compensation Analyst.
For PCTA, Janet Cunningham, PCTA and instructional.
Brennan Pickett, PCTA Instructional.
Lee Bryant, PCTA president.
Tracy McConnell, Instructional, PCTA Vice President.
Paula Stevens, PCTA staff.
Pamela Morris, PCTA instructional.
Nicholas Esposito, PCTA Instructional.
Tamara Gramlich, PCTA instructional.
Shannon Hoff, PCTA Instructional.
Hey, good morning, Jack Wallace, PCTA Instructional.
PCA.
All right, thank you.
So Lee, for clarification, is your team here or is your team
This is our team.
everyone?
Everyone's on the team, but this is our bargaining team for the day.
So this row will be,
Observing.
gotcha, thank you.
I'm trying to grow the team. Fortunately, we've been able to do so. Got a lot of young people on the team coming up. I myself am getting old.
I take offense to that.
I am getting old. I like to make sure I have replacements set up to take over for me should I finally succumb to my age, which hopefully will not be for another 20 years, but or 30. My dad always said he's gonna live to 100 and he passed away at 82, so plans don't work out. We're here to discuss open book bargaining. We have a good contract. We've had a good contract for a while, but that doesn't mean we can't improve it. We understand that the legislative session just ended on day 105, I believe it was, of their 60-day session. They finally signed the budget. There were some things to bring up about it. Just for the people that have not been paying attention. The base student allocation for 25-26 went up $41.62. The unweighted FTE is up 53,784. Total for funds went up $1 billion, but teacher salary allocation went up 101.6 million. Last year it was about 250 million for teacher allocation salaries for raises. So we're well below where we were last year. A lot of the money that went into resupplying the ACE programs and the AP programs, a lot of that money is going to be coming out of the instructional salary pool up at the state, so they're making it even worse. Districts are struggling, and our district is struggling too. We have to acknowledge that. Our district is not overloaded in funds. We are next to last in reserves in the state of Florida, which is just barely above what the law requires. So our district has not been excessive. Last year was very damaging to our budget for now and in the future. The drop in student enrollment is very damaging to our future. We do get money from the state based on the number of students, and our student population is declining. With that being said, I think we can find value in the contract. We can add value to the contract. The better we treat our teachers, the better they can treat the students, and life gets better. So we're looking at this year, not giving up on salaries, but we're going to look at finding value in the contract and adding to the value of the contract whenever possible for our unit, for the instructional bargaining unit. And when we look at the contract, we see nothing in Articles 1 through 6 that are problematic at all anywhere. So unless you have something from Articles 1 through 6 you'd like to bring up.
Yeah, so in Article 4, D, it's just a name correction. We have listed, is everybody there? Yeah. The first line, changing employee education and training to professional development advisory committee, which is actually the real name. We have a lot of cleanup like that as we go through, but it'd just be nice to get the right terminology. And just as we're discussing that item, the state has changed professional development to professional learning, and we have shifted to that as well. We haven't officially changed this name, but we would like to change everything professional development to professional learning, as that's what the state's directed. And so there's quite a few places in the book where we're gonna make that recommendation.
We found a couple of places where it said he, him, and stuff like that, so we're gonna clean that up.
Yep. And that's great as we go through those are easy.
Would you want this as professional?
We want it to say Professional Development Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And our goal though is to get the group to change it to Professional Learning Advisory Committee. Right now, that is the correct term that y'all have agreed to. But if Paula, if you don't mind putting learning next to it.
Instead of development?
Yeah, because that's where we'd like to head with everything.
Professional.
Learning.
So scratch out
Advisory.
development?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And this would be learning. Okay. And you said advisory, is it council or committee?
Committee.
And Lee, you said through 6.
Correct.
So in Article 6, the first couple lines is just date changes. This agreement shall be effective on the 12th day of April 2022. So we're just making, changes to the years. So we wouldn't have a date until we actually finish everything, but we will need to adjust that. That's all we have through 6, Lee.
One of the things I did want to point out is we're fortunate enough to have the language for both, in their, Article 7. I just wanted to point out the fact that our language has both the, American Arbitration Association and the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, both in the contract is using them for grievances. When it goes above and beyond. FMCS is no longer providing services. But we have AAA already in the contract, so we don't have to remove it. And I would suggest keeping FMCS in case times change and they bring it back, because FMCS was a free service. And the AAA is something we would have to dig deep.
So they got rid of the free service?
Hmm?
They got rid of the
Yeah,
free
of course, yes. It was a federal program. That's the one we were gonna be using for our get together, and they canceled that. They're not providing any services anymore.
Okay,
Not for anything like that. So we're lucky. We don't have to change that. A lot of the contracts around the state only had FMCS in their contract.
That was on level 3, correct?
Right. Yeah, I would say just leave the FMCS in there in case things change.
We haven't used them for a while, but
Yeah,
there's no harm keeping it in there.
so where we have been focusing a lot on is in Article 8. And pardon for the lack of a lot of printed materials on our part. We have 3 copiers upstairs, 2 of which have decided to go to Jamaica and be jamming.
what?
We have 3 copiers upstairs, 2 of which have decided to go to Jamaica. They be jamming for a while now. We call these Xerox guy in like every day this week.
Please no fleet humor. Yeah, okay.
I'm drinking more coffee, I'm just catching on.
Like stuff.
No, they're right there.
Yeah, got plenty in here, and I know you said they're very increased, but nothing says love like cooking, so I made some butternut biscuits.
All right, so Article 8 is a focus for you.
Yes,
It
for.
was
it'll
not
take
for
a little
us,
while.
so is that something you want to come back to?
No, it's something we'd like to do today, see
Okay.
how much of it we can get, because we have a 4-hour block today.
Yep.
So it's good that we have that and take care of the one that's gonna, we would like to see the most changes to it.
Lee, do you have it on there, so we're gonna be able to see it as well, since you don't have copies? Or do you have copies of what you're proposing?
It's 2
Yes.
copies.
Positive, yeah. You don't want it to go
Well,
down.
it's always you do page 26. Oh, yeah, my line.
Okay.
You're missing page 26.
I'm not sure which one y'all did not get page 26, but page 26, whoever's missing.
Lee, are you gonna walk us through what you're proposing? Okay.
All right, under, Article 8A, 1A. Page 13 of the contract. We would like to, expand, the definition of the language to include mental health and treatment. So we would like it to read: sick leave is to be used for illness of the employee or illness of the death of an immediate family member and includes medical, mental health, and related treatment. If we discover a specialist as COVID, mental health is definitely health. Also under 8A, 1A, we're adjusting the language from his, her to their.
So which one was that again? Oh, I see it. Yeah.
8A, same. We would like to.
Is that something consistently through here you're changing
Yes, but
or proposing?
proposing.
And that's just a preference on your team?
I think it's definitely a preference for a team, but I think it's reflecting the times from where we are.
But I mean, there wasn't anything changing other than it's for the times and preference.
Yes, yeah, it's.
Okay. Was there more in that one?
No, that's it for 8A, 1A.
Okay.
This is the idea of a touch screen. Under 8A, 1B. Another inclusive language adjustments simply. He, here is to there, he is to there. And anywhere else in prison contract. We can move down to 8A, 1D. All there?
Yeah.
We would like to change to let you there.
I'm there, sorry.
An administrator will not request a doctor's note from a teacher who is absent unless they have reasonable belief the sick leave is being abused. The request for a doctor's note and reasonable belief shall be stated in writing and provided to the teacher. The addition is the request for a doctor's note and reasonable belief shall be stated in writing and provided to the teacher.
Do you have that writing? That's not on what you
No,
know.
it's not.
All right.
What was
How
the?
did that get?
Can you just clarify that again for my notes?
The request for doctor's
I
note.
want it up there so everybody's.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The request for a doctor's note and reasonable belief shall be stated in writing and provided to the teacher. So it's not just an oral, hey, I don't believe you.
So I truly apologize. I did not have this one. Doctor's note.
So-
The request for a doctor's note
Will be in writing.
and reasonable belief. The reason I'm asking you is because shall be stated in writing. I'll let you catch up.
Are you adding a sentence?
Yes.
It's proposed.
Yeah, so I think Paul was trying to just change what it says. You're
It's
just
an added
adding a
sentence at the end.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. All right, just read it again, please.
The request for a doctor's note. And reasonable belief. Reasonable belief. Shall be stated in writing. And provided to the teacher.
That's a complete add to one B.
Yes.
Yes.
Down to 8B.
Say which one again?
8B. Leaves of absence for other reasons. Page 17 of the contract. We have it up on the screen. HB1B, our desired contract is, our desired contract language. Principal supervisors shall have the right to deny personal leave only Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the one below it. Notice of intent to take personal leave. My apologies. This is 81A. Yeah, I'm reading too much here.
I know we're not going into details of yes and no, but are you just saying it goes to HR? Or are you specifically saying it goes to someone in the HR?
With the right to appeal this decision, it goes to HR and to someone in HR.
Okay.
Yes. Doesn't have to go to Mr. Review, Collins. Not that you don't have things to do.
Okay.
The desired contract language, notice of intent to take personal leave shall be made to the principal or supervisor 1 day in advance unless an emergency condition prevails. That's.
So can I just ask how you envision this working? So if there's an emergency, the leave would be taken, so the appeal would be after? I mean, if there's an emergency, an employee is going to deal with an emergency, presumably, right? So tell me how this So the principal has the right to say whether an emergency exists. The principal says, no, employee takes the leave because there's an emergency, someone's in the hospital. Then there's an appeal?
If it was denied, because that could affect their pay. If they're denied the day off,
Well, if they're denied the day off, it wouldn't affect their pay, it would affect whether there's discipline. So is that what you're trying to accomplish? Whether a principal denies because the principal says there's no emergency
yeah, I don't consider that an emergency
or something like that, then there's an appeal after the fact.
there's the right to appeal after.
The right to appeal after the fact, and the purpose of this is to rectify any discipline that would arise if the principal said, no, it's not an emergency. Employee said, yes, my niece is in the hospital, takes the day off, then something comes of that, then there's an appeal. It just seems very bureaucratic to me.
It also tends to eliminate the idea that you have the right to make that. It is a little bureaucratic. We're adding a little bureaucracy into it, and I don't like doing that, but it's an effort to try to protect the employee and make them feel comfortable with the decision. And if something comes up, then they have the right to say, wait a minute. It was really important that I be there for this, and you turn me down, because while I would love to believe that every one of our principals are warm and fuzzy and caring, some of them are overworked and may not make a compassionate decision that day. So this would be the right to appeal that the decision, should it be against the employee.
Are you actually having this happen? I haven't heard of this, just as a principal for 15 years of my life, I can never think of a time I ever did this. So I'm curious, is it an issue that's been brought to you, or are you just trying to be proactive on this?
It has been brought to us on a couple of occasions, not many, but we're trying to clean up make things a little bit better.
Okay,
And
sorry.
things that don't cost any money.
All right, I just want to throw one comment in there, just sort of an overriding comment. I know we hear from teachers that there's a goal to reduce, I'll call it bureaucracy. There's also a goal from administrators to try to do that. And I would think that the grievance procedure would address this concern. I mean, there is a grievance procedure. If someone was unjustly denied time off because of an emergency, why couldn't that be handled? You go to the principal and you explain, and if that doesn't rise, then it goes to the principal supervisor, which is sort of an appeal. So just tuck that away as we go through these and consider that if there's already a remedy, do we really need to add more bureaucracy?
So it would be going to the area superintendent second instead of HR, but that is how I imagine you've directed employees to handle it in the past.
I just wanted to make sure that they had the ability to do so. I can't imagine this would be an issue on more than one or two occasions, but it would be in the contract so that they would be able to handle it.
Just take back as y'all go back to talk about it, what Lori's saying, because, you know, do we want to add if it's already there, but
Absolutely.
we can decide as we go on. What else do you have, Lee?
We would like to change the personal days to 6 days with 4 sick days.
5 to 6 or something. Yeah.
B1, B1.
There also be nothing. Employees are entitled to 6 days leave of absence for personal reasons charged to unused sick leave. We'd like it 6 and 4 instead of 5 and 5.
Where's the four?
We talked about the 4 day advance of sick leave.
Oh, if you use.
4 days sick leave,
4
6
left
days
over,
personal.
yeah. Gotcha.
Oh, let's see, for 10 days.
Yeah, it's still
For the
10
10.
days.
Okay.
Uh, 8B, 1B. Bottom of page 17, starting there. desired language, from us are principals, supervisors shall have the right to deny personal leave only if state mandated testing or the employee's role at the school is critical to events occurring during that time frame.
So you're opening for employees to take a personal day on our district PD days.
Yes. Indian service days. Holidays, the pre-holiday thing,
Student, the student.
where they can
The
deny it.
non-student.
Under 8C. Seven. This is page 20. This is some new language in 8C7. Page. Page 22.
Lee, what you change in 7?
I don't see it on any changes.
Yeah.
I see an add to 9. Adding 9, but what you do in 7?
What's this in this font?
Want to add. Want to add to.
8C7, we'd like to add to it, employees shall be allowed to enter PCS properties when using leave, provided the employee follows the site sign-in requirements.
Where is that?
New language doesn't exist.
Right, but he added new language on what he gave us. Is that not added on here? Or am I just missing it?
No,
Can I add a clarifying on that? You said to allow PCS employees to enter property while they're on leave of absence, like, for example, I'm on a medical leave of absence following the sign-in procedures, is that what you're asking?
So that you can go into the property and retrieve your stuff if you need to.
Okay, but you were saying to add that in 7, but I think that would be somewhere else. But am I correct if that's what you were asking? Okay.
Is that the extent of the language that they could just,
Yeah, we're gonna need to caucus for that.
okay. Do you want us to move?
Is the air conditioning on in your room now?
I don't know. I had a hot
Could you-
flash while I was
could you
over there,
please-
so I'm
We
not
will
sure.
go.
Could you please?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Right, I was reading my files a little out of order. So that got confusing for me because I'm easily confused right now. But that's okay. If we can go back to page 20 and we'll just go through it in order of the pages in the contract instead of me jumping ahead because 8C is later in the contract. So we would like, and when I do my my bargaining survey, this was one of the #1 things that was brought up. And I hear it everywhere I go when I go to the schools, and that is bereavement leave. When you lose a parent, a family member, as defined in the state of Florida, this is page 20 at the bottom. I was looking around and I know everybody, your team was also looking around. We know that bereavement leave is not everywhere in the state, but it is out there. And I think it's something that's important in a family-oriented business such as we have. It's important to recognize this. So the language is there. What we would like to add is a little lengthy. I'm going to read it out loud for the people that are there, but I'm not trying to insult you that you can't read. Bereavement leave. Bargaining unit members shall be granted up to 5 paid days of bereavement leave per year. Bereavement leave will not be charged to the sick leave balance, and no sick leave balance is necessary to be eligible for bereavement leave. The bargaining unit member shall be granted bereavement leave for the death of the following relatives: spouse, parents, grandparents, grandchildren, siblings, children or in-law or step relative counterparts of those listed. Bereavement leave is not cumulative. Employees will not be paid bereavement leave for days not scheduled to work. Employees are required to attach a copy of the obituary or other satisfactory document to the leave request form. Bereavement leave is to be used within 20 work days of the death of the family member. Unless the employee documents a legitimate reason to extend this period, the site administrator must approve the extension. The reason we want to make sure that it doesn't be counted against sick leave is if you have a sick relative that is there, you may have already taken your sick leave days caring for that sick relative, and then they pass away, and you have nothing left to schedule your funeral home visits, the funeral, get everything in place in order to have the funeral take place in a timely manner. The extension is there because there may be desire to not have a funeral at the moment, but sometime later down the road, have the celebration of life, which is becoming more common. Especially, hopefully we never visit those days again, especially during the COVID days when we had that, a lot of people had to delay their funeral services until they could find it at a later time. So that is our proposal for bereavement leave.
Did you do any kind of cost analysis on that? You've got 8,000 teachers, 5 days subs. What, did you do any kind of estimate on that?
I have not done the cost out on it.
We will.
I've
There is, we can multiply the number of employees and know the max.
The max student cost, we can do that.
Yeah, we do understand it does come in cost, but we think it's an important step. And hopefully very few people have to use it.
Back to page 14. Okay. If that language was added, you may need to revisit. Particularly use the death of immediate family, that line there. That's an it, right?
Where?
Or death of an immediate family member.
Well,
If it would contradict each other, right?
If they contradict, yeah.
Well, if they use 5 and something else happens, it wouldn't, so it's,
You know.
all right.
Thank you, sir. Next thing we had up was parental leave.
Where are you?
Very next item. Page 21. We have a lot of pages that we're looking at. We're proposing.
This is an ad.
This is an act. New language to be added to the contract, agreement. Up to 4 weeks, 20 consecutive contractual days of paid leave to active instructional staff are due to the birth of a child or placement of a child for adoption. Eligibility for paid parental leave requires an employee to be actively employed for at least 1 year. Prior without break in service. Paid parental leave is to be used before any accrued leave or leave without pay for parental purposes.
Dave, you'll need to do a cost on that too.
Yeah, we understand there's a cost to that also.
Beyond the one where it says 20 consecutive contractual days, instructional employee that's working in the summer. It's not really 20 days because you have 40 work weeks, so there might need to be some adjustments to the way you word that.
Understood.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the 4 weeks is to be taken, the paid 4 weeks prior to 12 weeks of FMLA is how I read that last sentence.
Yes.
So 16 weeks, 4 of which are paid, is that what you're saying?
You're asking for 12 weeks plus 4 weeks?
Yes.
4 weeks?
Yes.
So just doing the math though, I could take 16 weeks there, 5 days on bereavement, my 10 days, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, I'm almost halfway through the year on just taking leave. I'm just pointing that out,
Truly hope that all of these do not happen to one person.
but it could.
Having babies and losing relatives, it could, but it would be very rare.
I'm just
For
thinking
this to
about the
happen all at
student in the
once, so.
class with the teacher that misses 20 weeks of school throughout the year is all I'm pointing out is concerning. At least if my child was in that room, I'd be concerned. High school algebra, in a sense, 20 weeks of instruction with a sub.
It happened probably this year. Lost a dad and
My
had a
dad
baby.
and had a baby within 5 months.
Yeah, but that's going to be fairly rare.
All right, keep going.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
This one, is additional language also, new language on domestic violence leave. As defined in statutes, domestic violence means any assault, aggravated assault, battery, aggravated battery, sexual assault, sexual battery, stalking, aggravated stalking, kidnapping, false imprisonment, or any criminal offense resulting in physical injury, death of one member of the family by another member of the household member, family or household member means, and it's defined here. By the state, purpose for domestic violence leave. To seek an injunction for protection against domestic violence or an injunction for protection in cases of repeat violence, dating violence or sexual violence. To obtain medical care or mental health counseling or both for the employee or family or household member to address physical or psychological injuries resulting from the act of domestic violence. Part C, to obtain services from a victim services organization, including but not limited to a domestic violence shelter or program or a rape crisis center as a result from the act of domestic violence. And I'm reading this for anyone who might not be able to doesn't have access to it out of the room. To make the employee's home secure from the perpetrator of the domestic violence, or to seek new housing to escape the perpetrator, or E, to seek legal assistance in addressing issues arising from the act of domestic violence, or to attend and prepare for court-related proceedings arising from the act of domestic violence. Moving on, an employee who has provided at least 2 school days advance notice and who has been employed full-time by the district for at least 6 consecutive months shall be permitted to request, and upon approval from the area superintendent or HR, take a maximum of 3 working days of unpaid leave during the school year if the employee or family household member or an employee is the victim of domestic violence. Part B, an employee seeking leave under this section must, before receiving the leave, exhaust all annual or vacation leave, personal leave, and sick leave. Should sick leave be only available time remaining, the superintendent or designee may waive this requirement if the reason for the request does not fall within the requirements for the use of sick leave. Definitions. Family household member is defined in Florida statute. The employee requesting domestic violence leave must notify the principal 2 days in advance of the anticipated absence, except in cases of imminent danger to the health and safety of the employee or to the health and safety of a family or household member. The superintendent's office must keep information related to the employee's leaves under this section confidential and exempt from disclosure, according to Florida statutes. This is something that I feel we definitely need to have included in the contract. I have, one of the things that I do personally, and I don't like to bring a lot of personal into this, but I do work with a battered women's shelter on occasion. And I can see how quickly things come up and how much time is involved with getting things in order to proceed. So I think that's something that definitely is very important that we put in the contract and have it followed. It is many parts of this are state statute that we have not had in our contract yet. Declared emergency paid leave, HB 12.
Lee, we're not
This is
gonna have
your
anybody at
language?
work.
Hmm?
We're not gonna have anybody at work.
This is actually, we have been doing this already, but
Yeah,
I wanted it codified in the contract
all right.
because while Mr. Hendrick is a wonderful person, he may not always be our superintendent, and it'd be nice to have his language in place. We've been pretty good as a district at taking care of the people when this happens. I understand it. I was in the Navy long enough to know that new captains come.
I have an emergency.
Sure.
I have to take my niece to the hospital and it's her, so I just wanna make sure she's okay.
All right.
Y'all can keep going.
So item number 12, this is 8B 12, any language to the contract. Declared Major disaster or emergency is defined as one declared by federal, state, or local officials. The employees may receive declared emergency paid leave when one or more of the following conditions exist. A, the superintendent or designee authorized to declare an emergency event exists for which said leave is available. B, the employee is unable to return to work due to required evacuation. C, the employee sustains personal injury or significant damage to the residence. D, the employee is required to participate in relief efforts. E, the employee is needed to assist a family member with a storm-related emergency, health emergency. F, the employee's personal involvement is required to participate in relief efforts. And G, the employee's personal involvement is required for other emergency-related circumstances. Is everything okay, Ms. Wood? Well,
We can talk about.
Number 3, request for leave must be recommended by the authorized supervisor for approval by the superintendent or designee. 4, the employee may be required to provide documentation of the condition in subsection 1 above for which leave is requested. E, declared emergency paid leave shall not exceed 10 days per declared emergency event unless authorized by the superintendent. Item 6, declared emergency paid leave shall not be deducted from the employee's accrued leave. Never have another season like we had last year. A lot of people keep forgetting about the storm that happened in the beginning before we brought students and staff to Debbie, all the raining and all the rain.
But you're saying an employee should be able to take up to 10 days after a storm paid. 10 days. 10
If
days.
it is necessary, yeah.
What are we at? 16, 20,
I see we have a lot going on in this section.
So I just have a
Yes,
question.
yes, ma'am.
10 days in addition to the paid leave during the declared emergency, so during the 2 storms this year, everyone was paid during the term of the year. And then after that's over and school resumes, is it intended for an additional 10 days?
If necessary, yes,
If necessary.
if necessary.
Yeah, Dina crossed that out.
Because we did it with these afterwards.
Yeah, we understand that's also. There's
Well,
This
there's
is-
a cost financially, and then there's a cost to education side, instruction side, so, yeah, okay, keep going. You don't have anything. Okay.
We also would like to add something a little bit later, next session on compassionate leave. We have something. We don't have it ready for presentation yet.
How many days is that?
I haven't put it out yet.
Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I do. But
You don't wanna share?
no. This is more about donating to each other in case of emergency. Like something happening to donate to Jenny directly at no cost. If something happened to plant operators.
Just outside the sick leave.
Yes, outside of the sick leave.
All right.
And this is where we got out of order. And this would be page 26. You talk about this, really.
Oh. Employees shall be allowed to enter PCS properties with use leave, provided the employee follows site requirements. If I'm on personal leave, I need to go back to school, I can enter without any kind of penalty towards myself.
What if you just wanted to come on campus to have lunch with a colleague?
It would also allow for that, I would assume. I can come back on campus if I take a personal leave.
What's the rationale for this? I mean, if you're on leave, why do you want to come back to work?
And we don't have personal leaves. We have family, medical leaves. We don't have a personal leave.
Well, if I take a personal day,
Oh, personal day, but, oh, so you're asking if I take a
if
personal
I take
day?
a personal day, I can go back on campus for. If I follow the science procedure, so.
Is there a rationale for this? That, what's prompting it?
Field trips with kids, for example,
For what?
field trips with kids.
Yeah, give a little detail on that, because I'm going through my mind of anything that could be a reason. I can't think of something, so help us.
Well, if I need to go back to school and maybe I forgot like my computer, for example, or if I needed to get some material that I left behind in class as well. It's just my personal preference if I need to go back to campus. I'm taking a personal day. I just don't want it, for example, the administrator to maybe find anything wrong with that.
So if you take a personal day and leave would be very different about coming on campus. A personal day, I'm taking the day off, my flight's at 2 o'clock, I realized I forgot my computer, I wanna go get it at 8 AM. You would simply go on campus, you're not on leave.
You're not on leave.
So you wouldn't even, you would just go on campus.
Has it been an issue?
A leave, though, we can't even reach out and communicate, so to say. You're on leave and you wanna be able to come on campus feels very different to me, so can you? Kind of talk through, are you saying on leave or just a personal day?
On a personal day. Yeah, not FMLA, it would be more of just like I'm taking personal time out of my 10 accrued days.
There isn't anything stopping.
Has there been an issue?
Yeah, that's what I wanna know. If there's been examples of where it's been an issue where principal or a site administrator didn't allow somebody to come back on campus if I was taking my personal day. I mean, regardless if it's a field trip or whatever, but if I'm just out on a personal day.
Has not been an issue that I'm aware of,
Okay.
but we're just trying to avoid any potential issues that could come up from that.
Okay.
So you want that changed then to a personal day? Is that correct? Not a leave?
Yeah, it says,
It would also include sick time. So if I'm sick, I need to go back to campus as well.
that's still a day off, not a
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah,
So
it's a day off.
you're
So it's-
more,
It's out of the 10 days, not out, if I'm taking FMLA, I would, that's not including that.
Okay, so a sick day.
It's not a consecutive
Take
day.
a personal day.
Okay. And you're not aware of this being a problem, but you just want.
No,
Okay, got it.
so Lee, on that one, I mean, we can adjust it, but you're gonna provide language that clarifies not leave, that it's.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can adjust that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask, one of my, employees who has an example of where this has been an issue.
Yeah.
Just so she can provide some clarification.
If you're taking a personal day or you're in a half, say you take a half of a personal day. And you've got a class that starts at 12, just for an example. My principal secretary told me I could not come back until 12:30 because it's a workman's comp issue. If I am on campus and I'm supposed to be on a personal day and I get injured, it's a workman's comp issue. That's where some of that comes in. I don't know that that's ever really happened, but we have been told more than once that if you have a 2 o'clock doctor's appointment, you have to leave at 12:30 because you're taking a half day and you cannot be on campus after 12:30. That has come from our principal secretary, who's,
has that ever been clarified with the principal?
I don't know if she ever has or not, but she doesn't say things that she can't verify.
Okay, but it did come from the secretary, not from
Right, it came from the principal secretary when I asked if I could come in to teach my class, which was gonna happen during my half day.
So you were asking, because teachers have to take half days or whole days unless I'm under FMLA, when I can take it by the hour, by the minute. Because you are, so you're saying that because I needed to take a half day. You wanted to teach part of that half day on your own time and take the time, and your secretary says, no, 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 you can't be there because you're on a half day. I
That
think
is
that's a
correct.
totally different situation.
Yeah, okay,
So,
And
okay,
it had
We got
to
it.
do with workman's comp,
okay,
well,
that if you get injured, workman's comp won't cover it. This is what I was told.
yeah, no, that's okay,
Um,
okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
And we finally reached the end of our Article 8 requests.
can you electronically send me these back? I know there's 2 copies, but for my notes, can you send me electronically this?
These, yeah, yeah.
I mean, not your notes, but the
Okay.
original. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna keep going?
Unless you'd like to take a break, you do. But we'd like to keep going when.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Article 9.
Article what?
9.
9?
Non-union rents, you know. Page 27. We'd like to start with just the typo in the contract, expand that out to interfere with. From the original contract, which says interfere with.
Oh, you know,
What's the change?
it,
The
it's,
one I want.
It's
Because
just
the one-
a phase issue, it's not a change.
Phase.
It's just-
Oh,
it's just-
yeah, got it.
And then under item D. Further down the same page. Where it says, the union president or building representative. about halfway through the section. The union president or building representative shall have the right to use the district's email system for the purpose of announcing the date and time of union meetings, union-related elections and or election results, surveys, or pressing union matters that may concern all members of the bargaining unit. So if something comes up, we have the ability to reach out to everybody instead of just our members, because we do represent the entire bargaining unit. And I think you've seen over the my time that there's no way I would abuse anything like that. That's just not in my wheelhouse. But it's something we would like to be able to have access to, and I wouldn't do it without communicating with you.
But you won't be the president forever.
I will be the president probably for the next 4 years, and at least through this.
Kind of like you said about the superintendent, though. We have a good relationship with, but he won't be here forever, so. We gotta think past you as well.
Yes, yes, it can.
Okay. Keep going. Got it.
I do know, talking with my other presidents around the state, that is actually a privilege that many of the presidents have that we do not have. When I say, yeah, everything I do has to go through them without any explanation, and they post it. I don't get to post it, although it's gotten easier. It has gotten easier this last year especially. So we're moving right. I just would like to codify it.
Okay.
And adding language to Article 9. This would be item F. Added language on page 28 of our proposal. The union shall have the right to participate and solicit members at any hiring fairs, new employee processing, new teacher orientation, and at district-wide training.
Are you eliminating the current F?
On part,
Are you eliminating the current F that's under Article 9?
this is an addition to what's there.
The current F, all it says is the above privileges. And
Oh,
yeah.
it goes
So we're
down
So you
to
go
this.
for that, yeah.
So you,
Okay.
F now becomes, I think,
H.
H.
Yeah, so you're gonna change active H.
We also have a new item G. Employees may use personal leave and or compensatory time with the purpose of soliciting union membership at district worksite events during duty-free time throughout the school day, provided the solicitation does not interfere with the official duties of the employees and the operation of the schools. So if I want to take a day off, I have earned the day off, I would be allowed to go to Countryside High School and set up a table to solicit union membership. As an example.
A school other than yours?
Yes. And then it goes down to H, which was the previous F.
Now, right, because you said you had 3 things in our last meeting that you were gonna propose, so we're there, right?
I did have one more thing.
Oh, one
Yeah,
more.
we do have the time.
Okay. All right, keep going.
And that would be from Article 10, class sanctity.
Are you gonna stop at 10? Are you gonna?
Yes, we're gonna stop at 10.
How's that? Okay, jump in, so.
That's fine. So, 10A. Our desired language and administrator will treat all teachers. Added into the section, administrator will treat all teachers with professionalism and respect, as well as recognize a teacher's authority in the presence of students. And this has been an issue throughout the county with different administrators chewing out teachers in front of their students, raising their voices and complaining about things that are going on.
Lee, you skipped over a change I see on there on the third line of A.
24 hours, excuse me, that's. Except an emergency teacher will not be disturbed in class, whether by visitors or communications, unless 24 hours, 1 day's notice is given to the teacher.
So you're just rewriting the last line.
Yeah, we're clarifying the advanced notification, we're quantifying it.
No, I mean, I get that one, the last line where it already says an administrator will not disparage the teacher in front of students. You're changing it.
To an administrator will treat all teachers with professionalism and respect, as well as recognize the teacher's authority in front of the students. In the presence of the students. It is way more widespread than it should be. We do get complaints on a regular occasion where teachers feel like they have been publicly humiliated, chewed out in the presence of their students, not
But it's
treated.
in here already, you just don't like the way it's written.
Yeah,
is that-
I would prefer the way we have it, we rewrote it.
That language was added, I think, one of sessions before, when this discussion came up, and the subjectivity of your proposed language. We went back and forth, that's where we landed at, that the purpose was to ensure that the administrator does not disparage the teacher. Because this proposed language was so subjective that, we're basically going to be arguing over what is the professionalism, and what your predecessors had said is, we don't want our teachers to be disparaged, which is the reason that language was arrived at. So I think the same issue exists with what is professionalism, what is authority of the teacher, and what is the authority of the administrator. So this subjectivity is going to cause a great deal of possibly litigation. And that's why the language with no disparaging an instructional employee was arrived at. So I throw that out there because this discussion it's a little circular, but it has gone on in the past. And this was the agreed to language between the district and PCTA.
A little bit further down, just eliminating the administration will cooperate with the teachers in the screening of visitors instead of shall.
Where's that? What letter?
First paragraph?
D.
D.
Okay.
A.
I'm Oh, that's still in there, yes, I'm sorry. And then one final thing in item D, we have language to add to the beginning and end of what is in D. Interruptions of class instruction in secondary settings should be scheduled and kept to a minimum, as interruptions impact all of the students' learning. Turning on with the language there, students should not be called from class except as an emergency or scheduled for certain school activities as approved by the principal. These special interruptions, class instruction should be scheduled and kept to a minimum. That's the current language, and then we would like to add, students shall not be allowed to enter or return to classes for the final 10 minutes of the class period.
Explain that.
The number of visits in the secondary classroom has gotten to the point where instruction is interrupted on a regular basis.
Define visits.
Visits could be other students coming into your classrooms looking for things. It could be students who are late to class and are coming in after the 10-minute mark and then interrupting the flow of student learning that is going on in the classroom already. Students requesting to leave because we're supposed to be doing bell-to-bell learning. People that need to leave the last 10 minutes of class and need to be in the classroom unless it's an emergency, of course. But it's to try to keep the flow of the pacing in the classroom to where it should be instead of constantly interrupted. And with the new door policy, it's even more of an issue because opening and closing the door is much more disruptive than it was in the past.
So is it an issue of colleague to colleague? Because if a kid's assigned to me and I let him go to your room to get something, that's really an issue between colleagues letting them go? Or is it, or if I'm called to guidance and it's the last 10 minutes, the guidance, you're saying the guidance counselor can't send them back to class once they finish?
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Why is it, I'm just trying to understand why the last 10 minutes I can't return. I mean, that's pretty long to miss out on instruction if I'm out for, I have to go take medication or help me understand why the last 10 minutes.
Well, part of it is the last 10 minutes is students will quite often, in my experience, come into class at the end of the period and then expect to be counted as present for the period. So if you can keep them from coming into the class that last 10 minutes, they don't get the honor of being recognized as present for that entire period when there was no instruction given to them at all.
So on the first paragraph or the first sentence, the interruptions of class instruction in secondary settings should be kept to a minimum. Would that include administrators or are we talking about students? So if there's observations or the district is coming into a class, is that an interruption that should not occur?
First 10 minutes of the class, if it's something that needs to be happening, an observation, it should be scheduled while the teacher is getting things done and getting things set up. So ahead of time, kept to a minimum. But it should be scheduled if you're going to be in the classroom that first 10 minutes. And that's just for an interruption, not for an observation.
So for an interruption, that's what I'm trying to, that doesn't talk about 10 minutes. It's just a sentence that says interruptions of class instruction should be kept to a minimum. I'm trying to understand what an interruption is. And so if district staff are going to enter a classroom, is that an interruption that is not permitted under this proposal?
Janet?
So- As the wording is to a minimum, so obviously we have district people that come through, but when district people come through repeatedly. Every week, that becomes a regular interruption. So interruptions kept to a minimum is just as it's phrased, to a minimum. So we want to have things scheduled as best as possible because we all know that the instructional flow is important for having teachers have the students to succeed in their learning. So we want to try to minimize the interruptions coming in. And we also want to minimize the instructional flow being damaged by students coming in toward the last end of the class period. In secondary, we can't count them as present. They're coming into a classroom when the classroom is ending the instruction for the day. The student tends to be disrupted at that point in time. So we're trying to keep the disruptions to a minimum.
So
You brought up, yeah,
I just want to separate the student issue with the 10 minutes, because that was a question Ms. Woodford asked, but the first sentence, which doesn't talk about 10 minutes before or after, just says interruption should be kept to a minimum. And so if a principal comes into your room one day and the next day the superintendent and the deputy and those who are checking up on walking through classes come in the next day, is that a minimum or not? When we use words like minimum, it's hard to define when a breach occurs or doesn't occur. I don't know what that means.
so later on in here, we have some clarification and quantification on the words walkthrough. That will also help to describe what minimum would be in this respect.
But
So,
it
yes,
wouldn't
if-
describe it in this section, so if we want to
We
give
can-
it to a minimum.
Would you like us to quantify it?
Well, yeah, because I'd like to know what it means. Because administrators do walk through and teams do walk through, and we ought to know what you are considering to be a violation.
Yeah, Lee, I think that's really important because as a principal, I walk through every classroom pretty much every day. And so. Now I felt like I'm part of the school community. Sometimes maybe someone was with me, a coach, a lot of times not, maybe the AP was with me. I really think y'all need to spend some time just really defining what you're saying there, because we don't want it to be where I can't do my job either.
No,
So-
and we don't want that, but
Yeah.
we do have some schools where the amount of time that people are spending in the classroom, not necessarily even administrators, coaches coming through and administrators coming through. And it starts piling on to some of these schools.
Yeah, just look at the language again, it's very gray, and even if it's defined later, you know, each section's kind of looked at, you know, on its own, so it's not gonna be able to go, well, that applies here, so I think more specifics there, because I don't want language that stops our administrators from doing their job.
No, I don't think.
Can I comment on the last sentence there too, from a secondary lens?
Yes, sir.
That you do have an extreme tardy code. When you probably know how the kid came in more than halfway through the class period. And there are focus codes that account for that. There isn't a code that says a kid slipped in 60 seconds left and was there as an extreme tardy too. That might be something to bring in the code of conduct with Dr. Hines in the annual review, if you're looking for adding a code that says last X number of minutes. As a former teacher, I'd almost, little Mike, I hadn't seen in a few days, and he's late all the time. I'd rather get a few minutes with him than not see him at all, and he's gotta wait somewhere else, potentially for the next class period, just something to consider there too. But there's an extreme tardy code to focus already. That's used for tardiness for more than half the period.
That's all we had for today.
So Lee, you're not gonna finish that section of class sanctity, you're gonna stop there.
Yes.
Oh, that is all of it, I'm sorry. I saw these and thought that's more, and I thought changes. Okay. We want to present a few.
It's almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah, let's take a couple minutes.
Jack, please.
Are we leaving or are you?
We'll leave this one.
Okay, thank you.
No, we're gonna go to.
I don't know, it's colder, right?
No. Huh?
That would have been the issue. Yeah.
And the email?
You have the email one, I also can actually, don't show that.
You ready, Liz?
I'm gonna go through,
Yes. This-
are we doing those next two, or are they doing those? You want me to pull up just the regular contract? Well, I have the stock, I can show it to everybody.
Well, I have copies too.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, I can put one under the dock and then show it up there.
Alright.
Yeah, so you can shut off.
All right, so we want to start on Article 14. It's really just the terminology I spoke about earlier, changing it to professional learning. Ready, guys? Changing it from professional development to professional learning. It's in A and in the title. You'll see we struck through that, and then if you go to the training portion of the after D, there's a 1, 2, and 3. And the second one, again, professional learning department. And then if you look at F, it says instructional staff members participating in professional development training outside of the contract hours will be paid $22.50 per hour. We're proposing we strike the entire thing for 2 reasons. One, it's outside the contracted day, which is not supposed to be negotiated. We're supposed to negotiate what happens during the contracted day. And number 2, the problem is it limits us from being able to offer PD when we can't afford it. And so it's harming our teachers in that it limits what we're able to offer. We certainly want to pay at the $22.50 when we can, but when we can't afford that, we'd still like to be able to offer professional development. So those are the 2 reasons for that recommendation. Okay. Article 16. Oh, yeah.
Now it's your turn to exercise.
There you go.
Lee, were there any questions on that one?
No.
Okay. Article 16, letter D, we provided the language, but we'd like it to read. Teachers are expected to display professionalism, which includes but is not limited to appearance, communication, and interactions with other colleagues and parents and communities. It's really just rewriting and adding appearance. We're not asking for a dress code, but we certainly want it to be professional.
And we made a slight correction there, so instead taking out the act in and add display professionalism. So just when we met this morning, we discussed, so.
Thanks, Paula. Yep, instead of professional manner, just can you add professionalism and cross out the next 2 words?
Yeah, manner and,
Cross out professional manner and just put professionalism.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that takes us to 18. Number 6.
We propose taking that out because it violates the law.
I'll say right now without that, yeah. So
I think we actually discussed an issue with that this year. It just became a problem. So. All right, and then that takes us to Article 19, seniority.
Was there something in?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7. Okay, so it was written really bizarrely. We're just trying to clean up the language. Basically, a teacher transferred by the district, so you're displaced, can be recalled to the school that they were transferred from up to the 20th student day following the effective date of the transfer. So I get displaced in June, and then the position opens back up, maybe enrollment goes up, that does happen with like our pre-K units and things like that. I have the right to go back to that unit that I was displaced from up to the 20th day. Okay, goodly, all right, Article 19, seniority. Again, it's just trying to clear up so it's less controversial of what seniority means. And it's become more interesting because maybe I worked for the district and then I left and then I came back, and you know, people no longer just stay for 30 years, they switch districts and things like that. So we're just trying to redefine it. If I leave, my seniority starts back over from my new employment date.
It just tightens it all up.
Just type it. We're not trying to change anything there, but
Yeah, I got that phone call.
yes, yep, it was. And that's hard, you know, I have 28 years in, you have 5, but I left and I've only been back for 2. You know, it is it's an interesting dynamic for us. Okay, and at the end of that, we did strike through if the interruption was caused by a reduction of force, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Just cleaning that up. Then you can fast forward to Article 27, school schedules.
All right.
And we are on page 48 of the contract. Q. We're proposing that we say that teachers will enter grades 5 days instead of 10 days. Everything's become very electronic. Much easier to do. 10 days seems excessive, and we do get a lot of calls about that. Most teachers do it quickly, but it becomes a little bit of an issue. And it's certainly more an issue at the secondary level than it is the elementary level, because grades become different at that level. All right,
I
article,
think we missed on
Yeah.
this.
sorry,
I'm on Article 27.
yeah,
Mandatory meetings.
yeah, so we're proposing 2 work days. Again, it used to take a lot longer to finalize grades. Now they're done electronically as you go. It seemed fair to say that the 2 days prior, there wouldn't be meetings, but 5 seemed excessive. Sorry about that. Did I miss anything else, guys? I got the credits, yeah, okay. All right, Article 31.
All right.
So I'm gonna let Lori Dart step in, but we are proposing to strike through and move all of the evaluation language out of the contract where it does not belong. It's actually a management right, and we put it in the contract to an evaluations handbook that we do collaboratively, which we already do, and have a teacher handbook. It would allow that group to say, maybe, you know, if we no longer want to pay $1 million a year for Marzano, we want to do this, or it allows us to adjust as statute changes without going out for ratification, and it puts it where it really belongs.
So the only section of it that isn't proposed to be eliminated is the
A.
and right, and so that section keeps it in a committee type of a format and kicks the decisions to the committee to be able to have the flexibility on the evaluation system and have it in a handbook. And I don't know if you all recall, but was it 2 years ago that there was a change in the number of observations? In order to do that, it has to go out the change has to go out and be voted on, approved by the board, and it eliminates the flexibility that people have, so that was cumbersome. And it caused a great deal of confusion because we're in a semester where the contract said there's 2 observations, yet the goal of everybody was to reduce that, but it was cumbersome. And then the statute has changed a couple of years ago just to clarify that the evaluation system in 10-12-34 is a management right under the statute 447, which is the Public Employee Relations Act. So it is a management right. It was put in there as a permissive matter. As we've gone forward, the committee has really been the group that has been tweaking the system, and we'd like to continue it that way.
The committee's led by Lee and William Allagood, if you haven't been a part of that, but that's who really kind of heads up that committee.
And I know I spoke with William yesterday about this, and he's very much in favor of having the flexibility to address the evaluation system. and
Changes
having
from
a
the
handbook.
changes from the state as they occur.
Speaking of which, William, if you're listening, you're a great guy, man.
He is.
Aw. I need to say that about me. All right,
I do say that about
Heck
you.
yeah.
Right.
all right. We don't have too much more we're gonna do today. We're on Article 34. Lee, everywhere through this, where it says Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, without going through every single one, we want to change that to Chief of Human Resources. That is Mike's title. And that is on this page. If you look at C, the first line of the second paragraph, you see that. We are combining those sentences, which are redundant, into one. I'll give you a second to look at that. Then we're proposing to add D. Right now, that's in our supplement handbook on page 21, but it's not really a supplement. When you choose to teach an extra period every day, that's not a supplement, you're teaching. So we believe it belongs in the contract, not in the handbook.
Not me.
So actually, if you look at subsection B, appendix B is incorporated in the contract. So
Yeah.
all we really did was take it out of this document that is online, but it's always been a handbook. So there's this supplemental handbook, and then there's appendix B. So the language is just taken from this, which is part of the contract, and it's put under Article 34, which is supplemental compensation. So it looks like a bigger change than it is. It's pulling it out of one section, sticking it into another, and then there's changes after that point.
Yeah, there are clarifying language added to it, but it is the same. We're not changing the meaning behind any of it, just trying to clarify it a little bit.
And we addressed that at supplement committee when we talked, but that's why it wasn't in there, because we were gonna address it here.
And obviously, we gave 2 bullet points about the cost, the 14%, 12%. We do think there's one school that does something maybe a little bit different, we're not sure about. So we left a line in there that said, you know, could adjust based on the schedule. All right, do they have this language too already?
They have everything.
Okay, the next one is the supplement for additional work in IB CAT PCCA programs. We're recommending that we strike the majority of that. We are recommending that we grandfather all of those teachers in that are currently receiving that additional money. But I'll use CAT as an example. It was one of our very first DAP programs. We put additional money in there, but now almost all of our high schools have DAP programs. So we're supplementing 1 or 2 where we're not supplementing the other programs. So it's really looking at phasing this out a little bit, moving it over to the supplement committee to discuss. There should be a supplement when you teach IB. What is that number? instead of a certain percent that you're getting and putting it so it's addressed through the supplement. And we're not recommending we continue a supplement for CAT. And PCCA, we're recommending that it be on the supplement side as well. They do theater and a lot of extra hour events, and so we definitely believe recognition for that. But when we put a percent in here and lock it in, it's very, it's not discussed like it is with all the other supplements, if that makes sense. Lee, I kind of mentioned this earlier. We also are trying to clarify, if you're gonna get that supplement, you do need to submit the log, which we've had forever, and they stopped doing it, so we're just trying to tighten that down a little bit. Anything you wanna add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we just added so for those that are, that would remain with that percentage. We're still gonna ask for the coaching log that we haven't received, but for auditing purposes, for compensation, it would allow us to have that log. So we would ask that the logs come to HR at the end of each grading period.
We have been audited and have no documentation to show that.
That's never good.
Never.
But again, it is grandfathering in everybody who currently has it, so none of your members would lose anything at this point. It would be moving on once we agreed to language of how we would move forward with those three groups. Okay. Anything y'all want to add on that? No? Okay.
Okay.
Page 63. Limitation, it's really just striking through one word. We said, take out those teachers who hold, just teachers. Let's just clean up a little bit of language. And then Leah, as we're pricing things out, I wanted to be able to supply a number to you, so you were able to do that if you wanted to behind the scenes. Dave said that we spend, make sure I'm right, $2.1 million a day. $2.5 million a day on teachers' salaries.
Or just, yeah.
Just teachers.
Just teachers is a little over 2 million.
Yeah, the 2.1. We spent 2.5, teachers are 2.1.
Right.
So when you say teacher could take up to 10 days, if everybody did that in the district, you can do the math of 10 days times 2.1 million. So we're talking an expense of about up to $20 million for something. And obviously that's if everybody does something, but we wanted you to be able to have that number as you calculate. Because honestly, when you start thinking that, oh, a day is not a big deal, a day is very expensive to the district as a whole. I also wanted to supply to you, and correct my Dave again, if we wanted to do a raise for the entire district, it's about $6 million. So that just gives you some reference as y'all are talking.
For what?
1% raise is $6 million. So yeah, that like last year, I think we did, let's say we did a 3 million, it's about $18 million for the district recurring, because that's a raise for everybody. All right.
And the last part of this particular section, we don't have it for today, but we are going to talk about Article 48, which is differentiated support. So I think when we talk about that, this will make sense under F, why we're striking out tier 1 and tier 2. Just because we're gonna have conversations about differentiated support, because state language has changed. So that's why that's struck.
All right. Anything for us?
You know, we passed out, that last sheet that we passed out already had, Article 11 and 12 on it. And you already have it. So I was wondering if we could just visit it real quick. It's not much to it, since you already have the language.
It was one you didn't discuss, you're saying? And
Yeah,
now-
we stopped at Article 10,
Oh,
but we had 11 and 12 on the page, and it's already
oh, gotcha.
on the page we
gotcha,
gave you, and it's not much, so if you don't mind, we'd like to just go ahead and knock that out.
Okay. Did you change something?
You know, we'd like to add something to Article 11. It would be item D.
We don't have that.
You know,
We don't have that.
Let's look at this.
What you passed out.
What you have passed out is only Article 12.
Well, it has 11
We
on
have
it.
11, but
Yeah,
there's
it says 11 ABC, but it doesn't have the D.
Right.
What?
You just
Oh,
described.
it doesn't have.
Yeah.
It's not a.
We would like to add language, that highly effective teachers shall not be required to adhere to district mandated pacing guides if they demonstrate student mastery through alternative teacher designed assessments. Teacher may modify the sequence and depth of the instruction to meet the needs of their students rather than following a rigid district timeline. And the problem is, we have people doing walkthroughs, the teachers going, you're not on the right page. You're not on the right thing. And if you're a highly qualified teacher, if you're a good teacher, you're going to have to adjust the pacing guide to satisfy your student needs. And way too often our teachers are being said, you're not on the right page, you're not doing the right thing today, as the walkthroughs are happening. So if you're a highly effective teacher, you should be able to say, hey, listen, yeah, I understand that, but we had difficulty on that. We're 2 days behind because we went back and revisited it. And that's why we want to put that in there. We'll have the language for you.
Okay.
We'll have that out for you.
Okay.
And then in 12, we have the languages there. Teachers within 24 hours will report to the school principal in writing all cases of assault battery suffered by them in connection with their employment. Instead of immediately, because immediately, you might not be able to do something immediately if you've been battered. You might need to take the time to compose yourself, go to the hospital, if that's what's required. And sometimes people don't want to report things right away, and they have to think about it because they're worried about the consequences of reporting. So we'd like to give them that 24 hours to compose themselves and make the report.
Lee, do you worry that after 24 hours, it's a lot harder to investigate something that may have happened?
Removing the word immediately and all, giving them that whole day to think about it, to work it out, I think is better. It doesn't preclude them from doing it immediately, but it gives them that time to gather themselves.
Okay.
And then further down, another sentence at the end, the school principal will review this procedure step annually with staff during the preschool period. So making sure the staff understands. We're adding some language to 12B.
Lee, adding that's odd to me because teachers should read the contract so they know everything. It's odd that we're saying this one thing we're gonna go over when there's so much that I would think. It feels like you're isolating one thing to go over annually when really I should be reading my contract every year.
We should be reading the contract
You know what I
every
mean?
year, principals and teachers, and you've heard me at every year, hold up the contract and say at school board meetings, I expect my members to read and follow this contract, and I expect the administrators to read and follow the contract. I have never missed saying that.
I know, I'm just saying it's odd to say this is gonna be gone over when there's the meeting schedule, taking personal days, you know, all those other things, but this needs to be gone over. I don't know. Odd, but yeah, okay, keep going.
Uh, 12B, after language. This report will be forwarded to the superintendent, who will apprise the principal, who shall notify the teacher through electronic communication. The receipt of the report, the teacher has the right to request and receive information related to the consequences of the report. So you can send an email to the person saying, okay, yeah, I got the report. And then notify the teacher of what's going on. The teacher does have the right to request and receive information about the consequences. We just like to have that in writing so that it's like, well, I already told you what it is. Now, if you want it in writing, you should be able to get it in writing.
So has that been an issue?
It has been.
Okay.
And then finally, just eliminating in 12C. Oh, you don't have that? Oh, 12C.
I can give, it's just one page, I can give them that. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just cleaning up language, claims for psychological damage as result from incidents are not covered by this provision. We're moving out the phrase shall not be commensable and.
You're not changing the meaning on any of that?
No.
Just clean.
No, it's just, I think cleaning up the language.
Okay.
And that's all we had for today, and with the addition. So it's 10:41. We scheduled the meeting till 12. Would you like to break and discuss anything, or you want to wrap it up and set the date for the next meeting?
So I just want to make a comment on the section you just, what is that, 12? To the extent this is a workers' comp issue, psychological damages are not covered under Florida law, so that's why that provision is in there.
Yeah, it still continues that language stuff.
Yeah, he didn't change the
I
language.
didn't change the language on it. Just said shall not be commensable. It's still not covered by this provision. It's still in there.
They're not
Compensate,
covered by it.
thank you. Compensable. Commensable.
There's no other language you're prepared to go through today.
There is nothing else we're prepared to go through today.
Okay. Let's schedule the next meeting. We can finish at least presenting all of our language next time. We'll
Yes.
probably come prepared with some costing out of some of those, so that when we're finished next time, you know what we're thinking something,
why
if agreed, would
We
be.
wanted to start with 8 because we knew there was a lot of things on there.
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
question was, is there anything else that you're proposing that might need to be costly out? Yes. Okay,
Can you share any of that ahead of time so that we can do some of that?
I will let you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just let Dave know, he'll at least be prepared when we come so that you know.
Okay.
All right, can we schedule the next one?
We have an insanely filled slate. This summer.
Squeeze us in,
Yeah, I know. We're going to try.
okay?
I'm looking at, July 28, 29, or 30.
Lady, that's a month,
That's really,
Yes, I know.
too late, come sooner.
Week of 14th. Seven,
I will be out of town the week of the 14th.
okay,
week to the 7th.
week's looking really good for us. The week of July 7th.
What? Most of our team is, two trainings that most of the team.
The thing is, the next one's just gonna be finishing presenting language. So. I feel like even if we have partial teams, we could at least finish presenting.
The afternoon to night. Or Wednesday.
We know.
I'm not.
All right.
Can we meet at our house? Because we'll have those folks if we need to cost anything else out that we don't.
You should have training or anyone that day, or
No, there's no training. We need 8th, 7th, and 8th.
We'll bring snacks.
So the 9th,
We agree on the 9th? I think we can, yes.
awesome.
noon?
What time?
What time?
Yeah, let's try the afternoon that time.
Noon.
Do one,
1 to 4, 1 to 5.
one till we say we
1 till
presented
we-
all.
Once we're exhausted.
Yeah.
1 to 5.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll schedule it for 1 to 5.
Love
We probably won't take that long.
It'd be nice if we could at least finish presenting, like, we'll plan on finishing any other language presentations we have. We don't have that much more, we've done a lot of ours already.
it.
134, 135.
Do we wanna try to
That's the
set
room
up
number.
the next one as well, just so we didn't.
Laura's point, you wanna try to set the next one up as well,
I like it.
before your calendar stuff?
You said you're available the 16th and 17th, right?
No,
No.
no.
You said the 28th.
28, 29, and 30.
What about the week of the 21st?
Afternoon of the 21st? Monday?
School, that's good.
have embraced that day?
They're at their schools that day.
Oh, okay.
I'm tied up before, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to do the 21st.
I get it.
23rd?
APSI goes from the 21st to the 24th.
What does?
APSI,
21st.
It's, is that your St. Peter test? Or
it's at Largo, Largo High.
How long does it go each day?
4, you make
Full day.
more than I do,
Full day.
full day.
What about the 24th?
Last day, sometimes it cuts you out early.
Yeah.
Correct. Let's go to, let's look at the week, the 20th.
Yeah, Lee, you had said the 28th
Yeah.
initially, and we got you to schedule something sooner, so can we take the 28th too?
Superintendent's meeting.
I meant the week of that.
Okay. So about the morning of the 29th, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, I think the morning of 29th is good.
Awesome.
Here.
We have a board meeting, but it's not till 5.
So 8 AM on the 29th, we'll just put K to 12 and we'll adjust from there.
We're not gonna be able to hold it in here
Then
then.
we'll take
Okay.
it.
Yeah, it could be.
We have our teachers' free market
Ah,
that they're gonna be
okay.
dropping off stuff for and organizing to give stuff away free to teachers.
Okay, and then we'll do it at our house.
29th, 8 to noon at the district, right?
Yes.
So 9th, 1 to 5, D 134. And then 29th, 8 to 12, it's same location, 134.
Tracy, that's a cold room, so.
We'll bring a heater.
Dress appropriately.
We have other rooms that are rather.
I'm all, like, I have to bring a jacket all the time.
But once we put people in it, it gets warmer in there, so.
I do.
Lee, in the meantime, if y'all are trying to cost anything out, feel free to reach out to Dina or Dave or Gary or, and that way we can provide for you what we have.
Yeah, I got all their numbers.
Yep. All right, thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
I think we're off to a really good start.
Thank you. And I had a biscuit. It's good.
Biscuits were good.
Biscuits were good.
29. Right. PCTA.
Normally I make sausage gravy with it.
I'm disappointed because I love sausage gravy.
And I make a good sausage.
I love sausage gravy.
Thank you.
Gina, I'll send you
Electronic.
big electronic
Yes.
as soon as we add a couple things.
Sure, can I take that for you?